Well, welcome along, or welcome back if you saw the race earlier on today, to Silverstone. We've got the final race of the day coming up for the combined grid, this huge combined grid of cars that we've got for the likes of the Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli, the Boxster Cup and the Eden Open Cup and 911 Challenge. So it's a very, very busy grid. This grid is based on the second fastest times from qualifying earlier on today, and whilst the rain seemed to be threatening earlier on, the sky has largely got a few more breaks of blue sky to it and less clouds over the course of this afternoon. It's still quite blustery though here, so that may well just affect the cars a little bit. So we've got 3 races for the price of 1 here, round 10 of the championship that's coming up, and 3 races will be, the first batch of cars will be those that run in the Eden Open Cup and 911 Challenge. The second batch of cars will be those that run in the Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli, and the third batch of those will be the cars that run in what is the Woods Food Services Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup, to give them all their full titles. So there's going to be lots to look and pick out. There's going to be brilliant battles all the way down through the order, and our camera crew and production crew are going to have the monumental task of trying to cover it all for us. So the car that's on pole position, Archie Hamilton, won the race earlier on today. He is yet to be beaten in the Eden Open Cup and 911 Challenge races so far this season. Jodie Sloss pulled over on the slowing down lap, not quite sure what the problem was with her, and now she cannot get the car fired. There we go, it finally gets the car fired off the front row of the grid, and as they head off around their formation lap, we should be able to guide you through the way that they will line up for this second and final race of the day. Archie Hamilton starts from pole position with Jodie Sloss alongside. In row 2 of the grid is Dallas Carroll and Charlie Bird, who takes over this time through from his father, who raced in the previous race. Row 3 of the grid is Will Chappell and Nathan Lucky, with the 4th row of the grid being Adrian Lingy and Chris Diamond, who is scheduled to take over this time through. Chris is the pro driver. It'll be interesting to see how he goes. James Neal and Mike Johnson sit there on row number 5 of the grid, and then row 6 is where we start to see those cars that are running in the Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli, which is Mark McAleer and James Cayley. The next row of the grid, which is row number 9, Pete Morris and Kevin Harrison, and row 10 is comprised by Chris Dyer and Richard Baston, who had a spin in race number 1, be hoping for better fortunes in race 2. Row 11 is Bill Cayley alongside Andrew Muggeridge, and row 10 of the grid is going to be the car of Peter Evans alongside Christian Walker. As we get to the next row of the grid, it is Oliver Chatham, who claimed victory in Class 2 earlier on today. He's got Andy Toon, a former champion for company. And then onto the 12th row of the grid, it is going to be Andrew Porter and Paul Simpson. The next row of the grid sees Paul Seagrave on the inside of row number 13 alongside Vince Blacker, and row 14 is going to be Angus Archer, who has got Shiraz Khan for company. Then as we head outside and towards the end of the top 30, it is going to be Brian Richardson and Carl Hazleton, that line up on row number 15 with Ross Morris, and then Tom Atherton, who completes the 16th row of the grid. Then the 17th row of the grid is going to be Julian Morris, and then as we head on to the 18th row, in theory that'll be the start of the Boxster Cup. So we've got Jonathan Lovell on pole in reality on row number 17 for the Boxster Cup, but he won't line up on the same grid as Julian Morris, as the graphic suggests. Perry Darling and the car of Mike Thompson are next up, and then it's Sarah Thompson that lines up next alongside Faye Noble-Evans, an all-female 19th row of the grid. Row 20 of the grid is Matt Goff, and for company he's got Scott Adams. Then it's Vic Sedera, who is next up alongside Jessica Wilkinson. Will Toon has for company Eric Bridges as we head on to the 22nd row of the grid. Paul Watson and Phil Graham are next up, I would have thought. Phil Graham showing as though he's alongside Sarah Wood, so Paul Watson must be not there present on the grid. A revised grid would have been issued, and it is going to be Craig Horvath and Wayne Gregory that are the final cars of 48 that have qualified for this one. So we have lost 3 along the way, so there were 51 took to the circuit for qualifying over the course of this morning. 43 finished the first race, and a good chunk of them, even if they didn't finish, have been repaired, but there's a few that we've lost along the way, including, I think, the car of Paul Watson. Another one that we lost without question is going to be Darren Lebet, as his car looked to have suffered an engine failure earlier on today. So Archie Hamilton claimed the win earlier on today in the Open category. James Cayley won Class 1 for the Porsches. Class 2 was won by Oliver Chatham. Class 3 was secured by Jonathan Lovell for the 7th time so far this season. And the 911 Challenge aspect of the race, it was number 47, Mike Johnson, that claimed the win. So we've got 3 different races. We've got, I think 5 different classes in this one. So there's a lot to try and work our way around. And of course, it's not as though all of these cars, because they are multi-class cars and are all built to different regulations and specifications, and we do have quite a difference in terms of the lap times from them. So the likes of Archie Hamilton, for instance, best lap that he managed was a 2-minute 9.8, whereas you look at the likes of maybe Craig Horvath, who is in his early racing career, he was the best part of nearly 55 seconds slower on best lap time from the race earlier on today. So we are going to have traffic to deal with, and all of the drivers will be well aware of that based on what happened in the race earlier on today. So Archie Hamilton brings the car up onto pole position. He's going to be stationary for quite some time until we get the tail end of the field all into position, and then we'll be away for what is scheduled to be a second 25-minute race of the weekend. After here, we'll see the likes of the Porsche Club Championship head to Brands Hatch on the 3rd of September, and the 7th of October they will conclude their season down in Norfolk on the 300 circuit at Snetterton, and each time it's 25-minute races that they will have. So there we can see Archie Hamilton in the dark green and lighter green car sitting there on pole position. The blue car with the yellow and the grey flashes to it is Jody Sloss that's alongside. It's almost grey for Dallas Carroll, alongside the all-white car of Kevin Bird, or sorry, Charlie Bird I should say, Charles Hyde Andrews Bird, for that second row of the grid. And then just waiting for 5-second ball to be shown, and then we'll get the race underway. So you see the tail end of the field is all the way round the corner. Quite how they see the lights, I really don't know. So lights go out, and it is Archie Hamilton that leads the pack for the 911s and the open car, so they get going, and then there'll be a slight gap before we then get the main pack underway, which will be the cars for the Porsche Club Championship. But it's Archie Hamilton from Jody Sloss, from then what I think is Charlie Bird possibly that's there in 3rd place. We get the next batch of cars going. There's yellow flags which suggest somebody has stalled on the start line, and it looks as though it is Mark McAleer that leads the charge for the main Porsche Club Championship, with Pirelli up towards the corner. Car that stalled, now is that Pete Morris that stalled at the back of the grid? Somebody has tumbled down through the order, and it looked like a 997 that was black with coloration to it of red and white. And that being the case, that'll be Pete Morris. I think his teammate also, Chris Dyer, has either got some bodywork rubbing or has got some fluid dropping out the back of his Cayman, because there was certainly something that was showing. But it is Mark McAleer that leads the way. Yeah, Chris Dyer is slowing down in the background, so there are problems for his Strasser car as well. So it is Mark McAleer that leads. It is James Cayley that's there in 2nd place, looking to try and pick up the lead of the race. He was under pressure from Kevin Harrison. So everybody's safely, I think, through the first lap. There's a few cars that are either puffing out a little bit of smoke or have got some bodywork rubbing, but for the lead of the race, it is James Cayley who is trying to hang on to the coattails of Mark McAleer. The 996 of Kevin Harrison sits there in 3rd place. There is Oliver Chatham. He's already well and truly leading Class 2. The front 5 cars have substantively pulled away. Yeah, there's certainly lots and lots of smoke coming out of, I'm sure that's the car of Chris Dyer. It certainly looks like it, just waiting for it to turn its way round through shot. No, there's Chris Dyer. So you can see that car has got problems, and that one is the number 3 car. So that's Ross Morris that's also got problems. So all of the Strasser cars hitting problems early doors. Ross Morris with problems. There was a little bit of a tap, and I'm afraid pitched into a spin goes Paul Seagrave. Tries to get the car pointed back round in the right direction, but will lose a raft of places as a result of that one. It's just the lightest touch as it went in towards Village. 22 minutes to go, still on their first lap of the race. And another car that has either had a problem on this first lap is Bill Cayley, because his car is a long, long way down through the order. Leading at the end of the first lap is Chris Diamond. So Chris Diamond has picked up the lead of the race at the wheel of car number 18. I thought he was scheduled to be sharing the car with Hali Petrodias, but it looks as though he's jumped on board the number 18 car, which has been vacated by Archie Hamilton instead. In fact, no, Archie... Oh, no, he is. Right, OK, that is the case. That's just literally been corrected on the timing screen. So Archie Hamilton leads the way. Chris Diamond, who has taken over the car from Hali Petrodias, is now showing us in second place. That's literally just corrected itself on the timing screen. Jody Sloss is there in third. Charlie Bird in the all-white car is there in fourth position. The car of Ross Morris, which is still puffing out a little bit of smoke, is still continuing on its merry way. So maybe just a tiny bit of overfill of oil, and it was just breathing out of one of the overflows on that car. But one car that did not make it round the first lap was the number 9 car of Chris Dyer, who was in dire straits, really, with whatever had happened when the lights went out and he just didn't get going. And where is the car of Pete Morris at the end of the first lap of the race? Because that's another car I said had an awful start. He is down in 28th position now and has lost 15 places from his starting position that time through. So the multiple champion has got a raft of work to do. Ross Morris still busy fighting away in his Class 2 car, running side by side. He'll have the inside line as head down in towards Club Corner, so still hangs on to it, Ross Morris. That is, I think, Shiraz Khan that he was doing battle with. But Archie Hamilton out front at the end of the first lap of the race leads by just over a second. Pete Morris is trying to work his way through the order. He's the car over to the left of the screen now. He comes through and past the car of Vic Sedera. So another place picked up by Pete Morris. How high up can we usher Pete Morris? From 28th place, I'm going to get him. I'm looking at where everybody else would be. A long race, this one. I think he'll get into the top 15, which will put him about the top 5 in Class 1. Something like that is my suggestion. We have now had the change of lead as well, because Chris Diamond has gone through to pick up the lead of the race. So the slightly older 9911 specification car goes through and ahead of Archie Hamilton. And this is the first time this season that Archie Hamilton hasn't really led the race, because he's been so dominant so far this season in the Eden Open Cup. But it's Chris Diamond, who is a pro driver, that now leads the way, sharing the car with Hasi Petrodias over the course of the 2 races. 2 teammates first and second. Charlie Bird's there in 3rd place. Then it is going to be Dallas Carroll that's there in 4th place, and Jody Sloss drops 2 places from 3rd down to 5th over the course of that lap at the wheel of the blue car. So through has gone that car, which is Dallas Carroll, and also just ahead of him is Charles Hyde Andrews Bird, or Chab as he's also known, Charlie Bird. Further down through the order, Bill Cayley is still trying to work his way through and past the number 22 car. That is Peter Evans. Should be able to pick him off. I don't think the Cayman is quite going to do it down the straight and get himself ahead of the 996. And then once they do that, they've got Vince Blacker just up the road that they need to deal with, who's at the wheel of the yellow and the dark blue car. So here comes Bill Cayley, yeah, up the inside. The Cayman goes. The car of Peter Evans tries to brave it out around the outside at Stowe Corner, and does brave it out around the outside at Stowe Corner. So for the moment, still hangs on to the place. So this is going to be 4 positions further down through the order. This is something like 22nd and 23rd overall in the race, and they're still pretty much together as they head out of Club and onto the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. Amongst the Boxsters, the squabbles as well. So Vic Sedera has rejoined the squabble that he's having with Sarah Thompson from the race earlier on today. You can hear a squeal of tyres in the background, and that's somebody that is going to deposit it into the gravel trap. Hopefully they'll be able to get going. The front of the car sinks though, and I fear that for Will Toon that might be the end of the race, because you can just see that the back wheels might have adhesion, but the front wheels seem to sink into the gravel there. So that's up at Stowe Corner where he's had the off. So there'll be localised yellow flags up there at the moment. Matt Goff goes through. Behind him is Jessica Wilkinson. So this is further down through the order. These cars are all fighting for something like 40th, 41st position, something like that. There's Tom Atherton at the wheel of his grey Cayman amongst them. Now, who is leading Class 3 at the moment. Class 3, which is the Boxster Cup, the Eden Food Services Boxster Cup, is being led by the number 21 car. It was ever the case, really, of Jonathan Lovell. Boxsters of Matt Goff and Jessica Wilkinson fighting away, whilst our ever hard-working Silverstone marshals are trying to get Will Toon out of the gravel, and I think they're going to do it. Yeah, brilliant stuff. So localised yellows, a big thumbs up from Will Toon to the marshals, who have done a cracking job of getting that car out of harm's way. He'll continue in the race. Yeah, lots of time lost, but no damage to car, and at least it means that there's no localised yellow flags and no requirement for snatches or safety cars now. So brilliant work as ever by the Silverstone marshals. Whole raft of cars coming in towards Maggots and Beckett's at this stage. Now, the car, which is the number 5 car, is Brian Richardson. He's got one of the Class 1 cars just ahead of him, which is the car that had the spin earlier on. And that was Paul Seagrave, wasn't it, who has recovered his way back through the order. Further down in the boxes, there's also more scores to be settled by the look of things as well, which is Paul Simpson, who is trying to keep his car ahead of that behind. Vince Blacker is also being kept very busy. He has got the charging Pete Morris right behind him now. Let's just have a look. Pete Morris should be able to squeeze his way through, and there is Ross Morris off. So I did say that car was smoking a little bit. Now, they did have engine issues with that car last time out, and I think Ross told me it was a new engine that had been dropped in that car. If that's the case, it has not lasted long, I'm afraid. Jessica Wilkinson is looking to try all the way around the outside of Matt Goff here at Stowe Corner. Can she make it stick? Now there's no yellow flags in that area because of the hard work of the marshals. Yet she's made it stick, but then gives her the inside line when they head down in towards Club Corner. So brilliant stuff by Jess Wilkinson. She's now up into 41st position overall, and I think put her something like 9th at this stage in the Eden Food Services Boxster Cup. In the Woods Food Services Boxster Cup. Running a little bit wide. That's Jonathan Lovell. That's the Class 3 leading car, so he's pushing hard, Jonathan Lovell. He's getting himself amongst the Class 2 cars. He's got Brian Richardson just ahead of him, drawing himself alongside Brian Richardson as well as ahead along the Wellington Straight, which will offer him up the inside line as they head in towards the braking area for Brooklands, but he can't quite make it stick. Then we've got Carl Hazelton's Class 2 car just ahead of that. Behind Jonathan Lovell is Mike Thompson, so that's the car that's second in Class 3, and by the look of things, as Jonathan Lovell makes that mistake, that allows Thompson to go through, so that will be a change for the lead of Class 3. So through goes Mike Thompson, and that will more than please him. Mike, who so far this season has not had a win. He's had seconds, he's had thirds, but he's not had a win in the Woods Food Services Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup. Now for our race leader, they've got the traffic to deal with. Chris Diamond, since taking up the lead of the race, has opened up quite a substantive margin of almost 5 seconds between himself and Archie Hamilton. We've got double waved yellow flags down there at Maggots and Beckett's because of a car stricken somewhere, one would imagine. Chris Diamond now can thump the accelerator pedal, the pro driver, flashes lights to forewarn the cars ahead that he's looking to try and squeeze his way through and catch up with them. Archie Hamilton will look to do exactly the same as well as he heads down towards the bottom section of the Hanger Straight. So that's the car that claimed the win earlier on, Archie Hamilton. The car that leads now, which is Chris Diamond, was driven in the race earlier on today by Hasi Petro-Diaz. Now, Pete Morris is slowly at the wheel of the number 2 car after his awful start where he dropped to, what was it, 25th position and lost 15 places. Slowly working his way through the order. He is now right up onto terms with the number 80 Cayman in the hands of Bill Cayley. So that is going to be, if he can get past Bill Cayley, that will then put Pete Morris up to 17th position and would net him 7th in Class 1, actually. Now, is he going to be able to do it? He's going to take a wide sweep in towards Brooklands to try and carry a bit more momentum. I'm not sure he'll get the switch back by the time they get towards Luffield, so the best bet for Pete Morris is to concentrate on getting the good exit out of Luffield. Class 3 battle still continues as Jonathan Lovell goes back into the lead of Class 3, going into the loop, but as they head up towards Aintree Corner, Mike Thompson is trying to stick his nose up the inside, but Jonathan Lovell having none of it. So brilliant stuff from this pair, fighting away for the lead of Class 3. And if they still keep fighting away for the lead of Class 3, don't rule out the fact that Perry Darling, the number 81 car, might close in on them as well, because he's not that far away. That's the dark blue car that's right now at the background of the shot. Yep, so 3 now for the lead of Class 3. Jonathan Lovell, Mike Thompson, Perry Darling, all busy squabbling away as to who wants to lead the Woods Food Services Boxster Cup at this stage. Who's next after Perry Darling? Well, that would be quite some gap back to the next Class 3 car, and that's going to be the number 55 car of Scott Adams. So, yeah, he is a long, long way adrift, about 13 seconds adrift of that little trio fighting away for the lead of Class 3. So Mike Thompson takes the opportunity down the National Straight to pick up on the lead of Class 3. Jonathan Lovell gets a better exit coming out of Copse Corner. He might try and edge past again as they head up towards Maggots and Beckett's, but thinks better of it. So he sits back behind, and now he's going to have another nibble, as he know that was close between the pair of them. I thought he was going to have a real go as they got towards the first right-hand aspect of Beckett's. So really close stuff for the lead of Class 3. Carl Hazelton in number 24 car fighting away. Jodie Sloss trying to weave her way through the cars that are leading Class 3. And by the look of things, Jonathan Lovell now in the silver and almost Martini-esque liveried cars dropped to 3rd in Class 3, having led it for a good chunk of time. Andy Toon at the wheel of the number 4 car is got ahead of him Andrew Muggeridge. He's got cars behind, which I think is Peter Evans pressurising him as well. And I think just off that it's going to be Oliver Chatham, who continues to lead Class 2 at the wheel of the number 69 car. That's the silver car with almost sort of the lime-coloured flashes to it, the number 69 car. Yeah, it's like a lime stripe down the centre of it. Pete Morris has just gone through and past Oliver Chatham, who continues to lead Class 2 at this stage. So Oliver has so far already today picked up top honours in Class 2. He leads the Class 2 Championship as well, so he's already had 3 class wins, if we include the one from earlier on today. The number 17 car of Andrew Muggeridge busy fighting away for the lead of Class 3. Perry Darling is picked off by the car of, or the rather smoky-looking car now of Jonathan Lovell. Ahead of them is the white and the black and the red, sort of Porsche almost works colours as they are nowadays, of Mike Thompson. And in the background, Jonathan Lovell, having picked up 2nd place, has dropped back to 3rd again in Class 3. The car that's inadvertently involved in all of this is the number 5 car, which is a Porsche Boxster, but it runs in Class 2 in the hands of Brian Richardson. And that's good news for Mike Thompson, because he's now got a Class 2 car between himself and the cars that are 2nd and 3rd in Class 3. Busy section of the race, though, because we've got, picking his way through the traffic, Chris Diamond, our race leader. He's trying to lap some of the quicker Class 2 cars, so he now goes past Pete Morris. Andy Toon is then going to try and pick off, I think that's Richard Baston's car. Just needs to be conscious that he's patient on the throttle. Bill Cayley in the background saw the doors open and almost look back at the inside of the red 997 in the hands of Pete Morris, but wasn't to be. Decisive overtaking from the race leader Chris Diamond. Door could have closed there on him, but he was very decisive with the overtake. The slower car saw him coming. Away 3 wide heading in towards Village. That's Andy Toon under pressure from Bill Cayley, the 2 Caymans together. Pete Morris trying to squeeze his way through. They've also got the 124 car of Sarah Wood trying to get out of harm's way as they place a lap on her. Oliver Chatham, the Class 2 leader, is not that far behind all of these Class 1 cars as well. There is the grey car with that sort of lime green stripe down the centre of it at the tail end of the shot there. 8 minutes of the race still to go, and brilliant battles all the way through the order. Bill Cayley trying to defend the position, and he's hoping that he can still hang on to it. Richard Baston is the man that's giving him a thing or two to think about. Pete Morris is still under pressure from the white and the orange and the black car of Andy Toon. All of that whilst our 2nd place car of Archie Hamilton is trying to feed his way through and past them as well. long gone up the road now. 11.25 seconds up the road is Chris Diamond in the lead of the race. There's Oliver Chatham at the wheel of the silvery grey Porsche with that greenish stripe down the centre of him. He is 18th position overall, leads the class by about 6.75 seconds at this stage. In fact, Oliver Chatham, by the look of things, no, actually, second in Class 2 is he at this stage. Yeah, the number 7 car leads Class 2, apologies, which is going to be Christian Walker. So Oliver Chatham has got work to do here to catch Christian Walker's car, who was only just ahead of him, actually, as they head down the straight. Hadn't picked up on that. I thought it was Class 2 car, but it's not. It's a Class 3 car. So there, through shot goes Oliver Chatham, trying to hunt down the number 7 Walker car that lies ahead, Christian Walker. It's always going to be a busy race, isn't it, with so many Porsches all assembled on this single grid. One of them looking a little bit smoky there, which I think is just a little bit of tyre rub that's going on. That will be the number 88 car, which is Paul Simpson. Paul Simpson is fighting away with Andrew Porter at the moment, the 44 that sits right behind him. And then not that far off those is going to be Peter Evans. So here comes, looking to try and squeeze through Andrew Porter. Is he going to try it on the inside line? No, that's not quite going to work, but a mistake for Paul Simpson heading through the corner. Allows the car to take the place anyway. So that was just heading up towards Abbey. And Andrew Porter goes through to pick up the place. Peter Evans is trying to squeeze his way through as well. You can see, yeah, just that little bit of smoke. It's not tyre rub, actually. That is coming from the tail end of the car, so all may not be well for Paul Simpson. Not much smoke at the moment, but if the driver can spot it, he'd be well advised to keep a beady eye on those gauges, and if something is not quite as it should be, it's coming out the exhaust as well. That is not good news at all. Now, this is the battle for the lead of Class 2 at the moment. We've got Christian Walker under enormous pressure from Oliver Chatham. Dallas Carroll goes through to place a lap upon them at the wheel of the Open class car, with 5 minutes still remaining. Great fight for the lead of Class 2. That's now 16th and 17th positions overall, the battle for the lead of the class. So I think Oliver Chatham is going to have his work very much. He'll be doing overtime, won't he, to try and hang on to the lead of that category. Archie Hamilton in second place overall in the race. So our leaders of the individual classes or races at the moment, we've got Chris Diamond, car number 106, leading the race overall. Therefore, he will lead the Open category. In 9th position, car number 14, Mark McAleer, leads Class 1. So that's for the Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. In Class 2, we have got the number 44 car of Andrew Porter. Sorry, not the number 44, the number 7 car, I should say, of Christian Walker, leading Class 2. Class 3, which is the Woods Food Services Boxster Cup, is currently being led by Mike Thompson, number 6. And the 911 Challenge, it's going to be James Neal, car number 111, that leads that one at the moment. So that's the order of the individual classes. Bill Cayley's still got his hands rather full. He's got Andrew Mugridge right behind him at the wheel of number 17, Porsche 996. They've had traffic to deal with as well, that being the car of Charles Hyde Andrews Bird that's trying to place a lap upon them. This is a 911 leader just heading up towards Stowe Corner there, just heading through shot. 3 minutes to go. And I think Chris Diamond is probably on his penultimate lap at the moment. He's on lap number 11. Should be able to squeeze something like 13 laps out of this one, which might be one more than earlier on over the course of the day. Now Mike Thompson still continuing to lead Class 3 currently. Got more cars trying to thread their way through the traffic. There goes the number 777 car, which is the car of Adrian Lingy. In fact, looks fantastic with that livery, doesn't it, Adrian Lingy? And he is currently running in 8th position overall. All of the top 8 cars are open class cars. Carl Horvith at the wheel of the black and the yellow car heads past the wing. He'll be running down in 46th position at the moment. I think he's the last of the cars that is still running at this stage, because anybody after him has retired, I'm afraid to say. But the lead of Class 1 is going the way of this man at the moment, Mark McAleer, still with work to do, but his 997 leads the way in Class 1. And he is, what, 3.4 seconds up the road from Kevin Harrison, who's second in Class 1 at the moment. And that is Kevin Harrison there, looking to try and squeeze his way through and past Matt Goff's car. The number 46 Porsche Centre Nottingham car moves out of harm's way. Kevin Harrison continues on his merry way. Driver who, again, has raced Porsches for a very, very good number of years, not just in this championship, but in others as well. But has always largely stuck with the brand. With 1 minute and 20 seconds to go, Chris Diamond will be very shortly onto his final lap of the race. Quite a dominant win in the end. Almost an Archie Hamilton-esque dominant win. So dominant has Archie been for so far this season. But Chris Diamond is a pro driver and is leading by the best part of 20 seconds now as he propels his way out of Copse Corner, up towards Maggots and on towards the Beckett's complex, where he'll flick right, flick left, flick right again, and then nail the exit out of that final part of that corner. So out of Chapel Curve, all the way down the Hanger Straight, and is looking good for a win here. 21 3/4 seconds the lead advantage is now stretched to between himself and Archie Hamilton. Then there's another 10 seconds back from Archie Hamilton to Dallas Carroll, another 6 seconds back from Dallas Carroll to Charlie Bird. So certainly in the open category, it's not quite as closely fought. Spin there, and I'm afraid that's Wayne Gregory that's had the rotation, the Woods Food Services backed car, who were also the title sponsors for the Boxster Cup. Gets it going and will continue in the race, but that's midway through, I think, the Maggots and Beckett's complex for the lead of Class 1 and the first car home in the Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. It's certainly looking as though that is going to go the way of the number 14 car of Mark McAleer, because he's got nothing to really worry about, such has been the pace that he's had in the race earlier on today. Mark McAleer finished 3rd in the category, but it looks as though he is now on course to pick up his 3rd win of the 2023 championship season. Only half a lap to go for Chris Diamond, less than, what, a couple of corners and he'll almost be there, I would have thought now. Mark McAleer also working his way through the last few corners, but up to the final corner does come what is surely going to be our race winner, Chris Diamond. Still a bit more traffic to deal with as he charges his way towards the line, and he is going to pick up a win in the second of the 2 races here for the Eden Open Cup, which also incorporates the 911 Challenge. So he comes through to claim the overall win, and a fairly dominant one at that, at the wheel of the 106 Porsche that was driven by Hasi Patro-Dias in the first race of the weekend. Archie Hamilton will come through about 30 seconds later, finishing in 2nd position. We have had Jodie Sloss come into the pit lane at the end of this lap as well. She slowed down on what was the slowing down lap last time through after the checkered flag. Well, this time through she hasn't quite got to the checkered flag. The number 91 car has come into the pit lane, I'm afraid to say. There goes Mark McAleer, so he is going to be the winner of Class 1 and pick up top honours for the 3rd time this year in the Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. So he finished in 8th place overall. Still a few more cars to come through towards the sharp end of the order in that one, because we've had Kevin Harrison come through for 2nd of the Class 1 cars home, and who's going to finish 3rd of the Class 1 cars home? It is James Cayley that does that, the winner from earlier on today. The number 11 car comes through to finish 3rd in Class 1. I think it's going to be Bill Cayley or Pete Morris, is it, for 4th? It is Bill Cayley by 1/10 of a second from Pete Morris for 4th and 5th in Class 1, and Andrew Muggeridge 6th in Class 1. So Pete Morris, I did say I thought he'd be around 15th to maybe 5th in class. It was 12th and 5th in class in the end from him. Wait the arrival of the Class 2 winner over the start-finish line, which has already come through. It is number 7, Christian Walker, who claims top honours in that. The 911 Challenge winner will be James Neal, down in 27th position. And Mike Thompson scoops up top honours in Class 3, finishing in 28th place overall in what was a busy old race again for not just the drivers, but also for our camera crew and director as well, and producers, to keep track of everything that's going on out there on circuit. So I think we had 48 cars start the race, 45 cars finish the race, or should have 45 cars finish the race. As I say, with Jodie Sloss coming in towards the pit lane rather than taking the checkered flag, she's not going to be 5th anymore. She's tumbled down to 22nd position now, I'm afraid to say. And might even drop a further place once that car there, number 45, Paul Seagraves, comes over the start-finish line. Let's just have a quick look. But I think that's pretty much everybody through, including Carl Hazelton, who is about to now take the checkered flag. After this weekend, as we say, it'll be 3rd of September where the cars will head to Brands Hatch in the Indy circuit for 2 further 25-minute races, and their season will conclude down in Norfolk at Snetterton on the 300 circuit on the 7th of October. 2 25-minute races there. So the last couple of cars just about to now take the checkered flag on what's been a busy old day here at Silverstone. And once everybody is through and now has taken the checkered flag, we should be able to guide you through the results for our second race here. Chris Diamond claims the win by nearly half a minute in the end from Archie Hamilton in 2nd place, and it was Darius Carroll in 3rd. Charlie Bird finished there in 4th position, with Will Chappell in 5th place, and 6th went the way of Nathan Lucky. 7th place was Adrian Lingy. Mark McAleer claimed top honours in Class 1 to finish in 8th place, ahead of Kevin Harrison and James Cayley, who were 9th and 10th position. Then it was Bill Cayley from Pete Morris and Andrew Mugridge. Richard Baston was there in 14th position, but 15th place was the Class 2 winner, number 7, Christian Walker, claiming top honours in that. Only just, though, from Oliver Chatham, who finished just behind him. Then it was Evans, Porter, Felix Archer and Shiraz Khan that completed the top 20. Then as we move outside of the top 20 and into 21st position, it was Vince Blacker from Paul Seagrave. Jodie Sloss was 23rd in the end, I'm afraid to say, with Julia Morris and Carl Hazelton 24th and 25th. Look down to 28th place, that's Mike Thompson. The number 6 car home was the first of those that ran in Class 3, just ahead of Perry Darling in the end, who finished 2nd in that class. And Mike Johnson, who was there in 30th position, was the car that was 2nd home in the 911 Challenge category. Once we get down towards the bottom of the top 40, we can see that the likes of Vic Sedera didn't have as good a run. He was running 2nd in the championship coming into this weekend, but finishes down in 38th position and something like 9th in class. So not a couple of great races from Vic Sedera. And then we could also see the cars that had problems, the likes of the Strasser cars of Ross Morris and Chris Dyer, all retiring very early on in the race. So that is it from Silverstone for the Porsche Club Championship for this weekend, where we've included the Porsche Club with Pirelli, we've included the Woods Food Services Boxster Cup, together with the Eden Open Cup and 911 Challenge. Busy old race, lots of cars on the grid, battles all the way through the order, and we will recommence those battles when we head to Brands Hatch on the 3rd of September. So thanks for joining us today from everybody here at Silverstone. We'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.